Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Christian Reeve Podcast. Today's guest is a musician and podcaster hailing all the way from New Jersey in the United States. His name is Darryl Watson. Welcome to the show, Darryl. How are you doing?
What's going on, Christian? Glad to be here. Thanks for having me here.
Glad to finally have you here, man. Let's just jump straight into it. Talk us through your musical journey from the beginnings until now. What's the story?
Well, currently right now I'm 31. I started officially making music when I was 17. Me and my friend Ryan, we made a group, the Board of Education. We got like 4 or 5 projects that came out back then. Been writing ever since. I got to work with Last Cabal, which is another band group that I work with, and I have some solo work out now. So I've been at it for about 14, 15 years now on the independent tip.
But what's kind of inspired you to get into it? Because obviously everyone has kind of a connection to music in a different way. For some people, it's maybe upbringing or, you know, a case of where they are and they use that to kind of artistically, let's say, motivate them or, you know, okay, like for example, with me and music, I've been a musician all my life as well. And over time it's developed. So when I was younger, it was more about kind of the love of music and just wanting to perform. And then years later, it's become more about, I don't know, communicating what the soul has. I don't know. But what is it for you? What does it mean for you?
Going back to the first part of your question, just growing up, like with both my parents, my dad, we used to listen to funk, like early hip hop, like, you know, Run DMC, Curtis Blow, stuff like that from his day. And, you know, 90s into the 2000s, I just always been like, I always love music, you know, obviously hip hop, but I'm into a lot of other stuff too. Like I love Radiohead. I love like I said, funk, jazz, like I'm into a lot of different stuff as well. But as far as me personally, like I like the challenge of just being a better artist, but also I like you said, just being able to like express yourself. You know, I think that's the most important thing of music. We get so caught up, especially how, you know, capitalism and everything is now. It's crazy. It's wild out here. But at the end of the day, music's supposed to really, at the core, be self-expression, you know?
What do you make of how the music scene has changed over the years? I mean, we're similar in age. I'm 29, you're 31. So we grew up at the same time, different parts of the world. So we've seen the same sort of changes. Certainly in the last 15 or 20 odd years. Like, what do you make of the industry now?
It's a romper room. The industry is a romper room.
What's that?
I think it's just wild. Like it's just like a free for all kind of, you know. I feel as though the last 10 years have been ridiculous, but I think the last like 3 have been even more ridiculous. I'm pretty sure you can attest to some of the things that you have across the pond, like how it's always been like, you know, emulate whatever's popular now, whatever the popular things. That's always a thing. However, we could always count on music always changing. Yeah. I feel like the last 3-4 years in all genres, not necessarily just hip hop, but as a whole, everything's so stagnant. Like country music is stagnant, rock is stagnant. Like a lot of genres are very, very hip hop is super stagnant right now. But a lot of things are very, very stagnant, and there hasn't been a lot of like change going on. But I feel as though with how everything's going, like as far as like culture as itself is changing, like work from home is a big thing now. The pandemic brought a lot of entrepreneurship in general, you know, just in general, not speaking just music. But with all that being said, I think that's going to trickle back to independent artists, because I feel as though at some point it's like bigger labels, they keep pushing the same type of stuff, the same type of artists. And it's like really bad now, where the consumer, I feel as though, will gravitate to something different, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like all the best music I listen to these days is all either unsigned artist or lesser known. And that's not me like trying to be like, oh, I listen to the underground stuff. Oh no, cool. It's just this better music. I don't know, like when I hear stuff in the charts, like it's okay. You know, I'm not as bothered as I used to be when I was younger. When I was a teenager, I was like really like, no, down with the system, man. It's all about underground, right? But now I'm just like, look, if it sounds good, like who cares, right?
Right. And I like mainstream artists and things as that too. But I always judge an artist on like their growth. you know, and I feel like they don't push none of that really. It's just kind of like, but at the same time, bigger artists can get away with doing stuff like that. Like I can just regurgitate the same stuff over and over, and it's like people gonna eat it up.
It's a disservice as well. Like I was listening to some Anthony Fantano the other day, just him reviewing people, because I'm a bit of a sadist, so I love to hear him just shit on people. It's just funny.
I love it.
It's brilliant. Yeah. And he was shitting on Drake, and I was sort of sitting there and thinking about it, like over the last 10, 15 years of his career, and I kind of found myself agreeing with a lot of the points, specifically what we're talking about. Like just
I agree, yeah. Like I say, from views to now, he's been coasting.
Yeah, and that begs the question, doesn't it? Like, is there responsibility in a musician to be the best you can be, or can you get away with just? I mean, we know you can get away with just putting out whatever and people will buy it based on name value alone. But is that right?
I don't feel like it's right, especially within hip hop, because you can't really pop shit like, oh, I'm the biggest or I'm the best rapper, but then not push the genre. You know, especially within hip hop, because it's so at the core, fundamentally, it's supposed to be very, very, you know, competitive. You know,
I feel like the biggest thing that's happened with hip hop as well is that it's, I mean, this is nothing new. It's become more mainstream. Like it's always been at the heart of like popular culture. But it always used to be more like not the central focus, but more kind of the thing to the side that's like, oh, this is interesting, this is different.
You know what I mean? Right. Especially like 10 years ago to now, like hip hop is the #1 genre in America right now. Like that's never been not the #1, not like, you know, it's been in the top 3, 4, 5, but now it's just so much in culture. Period. You know.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't know about you, but like when I was growing up, hip hop for me, it was always about, you know, who's got the best raps, who's got the most kind of encouraging backstory, you know, something you can connect to, relate to. I don't know. I can't really relate to some rich guy rapping about how difficult it is to be famous and have millions in the bank. Like, I mean, and again, it's the same criticism that's been made 50 million times, but there's a lot more of those people now. It used to be there's like a few of them at the top, and then everyone else is struggling trying to get to the top. Now everyone's at the top, and it's like people, for instance, you shit on someone like Eminem, right? At the end of the day, what else does he have to rap about?
That is true, and I am a fan. I'm a big fan of M. Although I do feel like at some points, I feel like certain, like I think JayZ is a good example. He kind of like slows down. You know, Nas is kind of sort of as of late. M, I feel like with M, and he said that in an interview recently with Double XL, like he said he's not really worried about making the best songs. He just wants to be the best rapper, which makes sense. And at that point, if that's what you say you are and that's what you're trying to do, I get it. Because I feel like on a technical level, obviously he's a creme de la creme. But what makes him so great, or what I like most about him, is the fact that he has good songs, like, you know, Haley's song, Toy Soldiers, etc., etc. He makes really great songs that, you know, that hit an impact, and he makes songs that other artists couldn't make. You know, I feel like to me that helps define how good the artist is.
Well, given that you're a producer as well, so you can kind of appreciate this. I feel like a lot of that comes from Dr. Dre, really. I mean, if you look at everything he's connected with, both from what he's directly involved in producing and even rapping on, to projects that he's just worked with. I mean, I feel like that I haven't really heard of many other producers in the game similar to Dr. Dre that are new. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure there are. Maybe you just don't hear about them. But like, I don't know. Like, it's rare that I ever hear something that comes from under his umbrella that I don't like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely get you. I mean, it's all about the vibe and the connections that you make, and like the overall feel that you're going for. You know, he's a very underrated producer as well. Very underrated producer. I mean, he did a couple of songs where I was like, I had to look back and like, oh, I didn't know he did that. You know, for other artists and whatnot. So that's definitely something else to look into. But going back to what you were saying, like as far as like producers and things, that matters a lot, and I think that has a lot to do with how music as a whole has kind of been like, I don't want to say cheapened, but to a degree almost cheapened, you know? It's like when we, like 10 years ago, it was like, oh, well, now you have a microphone, like anybody can just make music. But now it's like, damn, anybody can produce too. So it's like them two together is just like a whole bunch of like people are looking for shortcuts and things of that nature. And, you know.
Speaking of which, like, what do you make of this? That I've always found this really weird. In the last sort of 10 odd years, you get a lot of people selling beats now. It's like a weird thing, like where you can be like, oh yeah, you can pay me X amount of money and you can have free use of these beats. And I don't know why, but it just strikes me as really odd. It's like no different to if I would just quickly write something on guitar and then be like, oh yeah, I'm going to charge you, I don't know, flat fee of $250 to use that for a few fucking chords. I don't get that. Like I get charging for samples and stuff, but like,
right.
I don't know. And there's a lot of people doing that.
Yeah, it's really tough. Like personally, like musically, outside of like anything that I like work with, like co-produce or start the actual production end of it, I work with JayZ Snow, who's from Philly. One of my friends, Focus Far, from Romania. Like I have a network of producers that I do work with, like because it's like they have a similar style, or they kind of get where I'm coming from, whatever the case is. But going back to that, yeah, it's kind of crazy because now it's like you can just download a program, use the, and the thing is when people sell like a lot of the beats and things, it's like your beats don't sound like it's just stock sounds. You don't tweak anything. It doesn't sound like, you know. And I feel like, especially like you were saying, going back to like paying for it, like I don't have a problem purchasing production, but if that came to the point, it would have to be some sort of production, whether it was $10 or $150. It has to be some sort of production where it's like, all right, I can do something with this that either I can do something on this that no one else would do, because that also eliminates a lot of problems, because you can have the same beat as someone, but if you can make the type of song that no one else would be able to make with that helps out. But it's just like lazy. It's really lazy, man, because it's like people just get so like, you know, it's just they'll be like, oh, who's hot now? They'll make a this rapper type beat and a that rapper type beat and stuff, and it's like to the point where I feel as though producers as a whole is almost less genuine than like artists, and artists
it's like
copy and do a lot of wild shit, but producers, it's like they're just biting sounds, biting styles, like they don't take time to learn it.
So do you own a computer? Yes. Do you like music? Yes. Well, you're a producer now.
Yeah, basically. And it's like the stock drums, the stock sounds, it's like it's like, damn, like at least, you know, make it personalized.
I will say this, sometimes it can be really, really well done. Like I remember back in the day, there's this metal band called Periphery, right? It's like a progressive style metal band. And I remember hearing the story that their very first album was just entirely produced on a computer by one guy. And that blew me away, because I was like, surely not. Like normally you can tell the difference, but this was like the first instance where you just couldn't tell that it was MIDI drums or whatever. And I was just like, wow. Blew me away.
Wow. I would say even with that, I'm pretty sure they might have tweaked some things, changed some things around, you know, not as much just like drag and drop, but that's actually dope. You said, and it's all one person. See, that's really cool. Like me as an artist, I would not like be opposed to having one project with one producer. However, I do think sometimes you can kind of pigeonhole yourself into like a certain sound. And you don't want to be pigeonholed to a certain sound, like, because even if it works, even if your sound's original, like the Baby, he's popular, and he got popular by having his own style, his own flow, his own whatever. But now it's like, bro, you kind of just be doing the same thing over and over. There's no growth as an artist. Some
people do careers on that. I know Slayer, the metal band, did that. But again, to your point, they released almost the same record for the 30 years, and it did get a bit tiring after a while. But I don't know, man. I mean, I guess it depends. There's always going to be a core audience, and then there's going to be like the bigger mainstream audience. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many artists over the years that have like were big in a particular moment, and then suddenly, you know, just weren't. Like, for instance, at work, I've noticed a lot of the music that's played where I work is all like 20 years old. So it's stuff that I listened to when I was growing up, right?
Right, early 2000s, great time.
Yeah. Oh, best time. And
the best time, period.
The interesting thing about it is that some of the stuff is still relevant to this day. So, like, if you hear, like, let's say, an Arctic Monkeys record, it's still relevant.
Oh yeah, Arctic Monkeys is dope.
But they're still in the game, but they're in a complete. Oh, we're on a journey. Where are we going?
Oh, we're taking a trip.
Where are we off to? Where's
Nah, we just off to the balcony. We like to take trips, but like you were saying, Arctic Monkey.
Yeah, obviously their first record and then their most current record are like night and day. But right. the point is that, like, a band like that has longevity, but then as we sort of discussed earlier, they've kind of grown with the times and stayed relevant. But then there's some artists that were huge in a particular year, and then you never hear from them again. And they still make music to this day. Another good example of the same time is a band called Franz Ferdinand. They had a huge record, won a bunch of awards. There you go, Take Me Home, like the biggest record ever of the year. And then, just I mean, they did a few things after that, but not to the same level. And sometimes I wonder, like, how much of that is actually down to luck or down to the artists trying to stay relevant. And then sometimes maybe it's just a case of, like, they're not interested in trying to keep putting out stuff to stay popular, and they just want to release music that they like. You know, that's interesting.
I mean, it is a balance. Personally, like, creating, I try to branch out as much as I can and do have as many different sounds. But one thing I've always, like, tried to take pages from, like, other artists and see how they adapt. Like, for instance, I think Kanye's tied for my favorite artist. I would say he's a good example because he came out early 2000s. He helped change the game, but he still reinvented himself, you know?
Yeah, he's an interesting example. I mean, he kind of goes back to what you were saying before about an artist who creates their own thing. Like, early Kanye was just very in line with what was kind of going on at the time in the hip hop scene. There's a lot of artists doing very similar music. And then I feel like from that point onwards, he just made his own, obviously he made his own brand and he became like his own entity, but his music has always kind of been just very spacey and out there and weird. It's just Kanye. Like, it's almost like a genre at this point.
No, I agree. And, like, it's just, like, one thing that I like most about him is even within hip hop, like, he kind of, like, bridged the gap. Like, he did songs with, like, Mos Def and Talib Kweli. Then songs with JayZ. Then, you know, he did a whole album with Common, you know, which I personally think that's personally his best album. But, like, stuff like that, just, you know, bridging the gap. Like, he worked with the Clips. He's worked with, you know, like, different types of sides of just, you know, the one genre, you know, which is dope. He worked with 30 Seconds to Mars. He's worked out. And that's one thing as an artist I'm always trying to do, just branch out and just be more eclectic. Because even within just hip hop, like you said with Kanye, like, you could have a lot of different sounds just within that one genre.
Oh, for sure. Know? Yeah, no, it's blown me away how much hip hop has changed over the years. As far as, like, there's so many different styles. I mean, you've got trap, grime, drill, just all sorts of different styles, and, you know, according to different countries as well.
Correct.
And it makes sense. You're going to have these different subgenres. I mean, it was the same when I was growing up with rock and metal music. I remember trying to explain to people the idea of subgenres, and people would just look at me blankly, like, what do you mean? It all sounds the same. And I'm like, does it? Does it really?
Yeah, I mean, and then you got artists that kind of, like, can be in more than one. You know, like, you got Radiohead. Like, Radiohead, it's like, depending on what album, it's more electronic than anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's weird. I was saying this to a friend the other day, that, like, how there are some artists, like, say, Muse, who started as just, like, a out-and-out rock band, And then like in more recent years, I think didn't they do like a dubstep album at one point or something?
Yes, I believe so.
It just threw me. I was like, what? And like, hey, fair play, try something new, right? But it's just really odd. Like I don't know, but I guess yeah, if you want to do it, you want to do it, you know. And that's kind of the beauty of creative expression, I suppose, in music. But you're always going to be heavily criticized for doing anything that deviates from, I suppose, people's expectations of what you should be doing.
That is true. Even I would say, have you heard Drake's last project?
No, I heard Fantana's shit on it, and I just kind of. I mean, yeah. I imagine it's like all things where he won't like it. It'll get a bad review, but then I'll probably hear it on the radio, and I won't be that bothered about it. You know, it'd be like, okay.
I've heard it. It's more like dance type. It's not rap. So it's kind of like...
That's all his stuff, though, isn't it? Like, every once in a while, he'll try
See, that's the funny thing about him. It's like, you're a rapper, but yet you don't have a full rap project. But then you got, like, Drizzy Marley, where he's kind of like, you know... Then you got, like, UK Drake. Then you got Caribbean Drake. Then you got... you know what I'm saying? You got... You know...
It just reminds me of that time when Snoop Dogg... like for like 2 years.
Oh yes, Snoop Lion. Yeah.
He just changed his name. He's like, no, I'm not Snoop Dogg anymore. I'm Snoop Lion.
It's crazy. Like, but see, I feel like the only difference I would say is I feel like it's interesting because I feel like Drake kind of like rides waves. When Snoop did what he did, I feel like that's probably like how he felt in his you know, he probably was, you know, in a mental space. You feel me?
Yeah, he's just smoking a lot of weed, and he happened to be in Jamaica at the time, and he was like,
he's in my top 5. Snoop is definitely in my favorite 5.
Nah, he's brilliant for real. I think he's one of those people that gets it. Like, it's okay to move with the times and try different things, but I think you want to kind of stay true to yourself and stay somewhat consistent. You know.
Right. And he has the personality.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think I've been more impressed by like his business exploits over the last 10, 15 years. Like just all these different cooking shows and reality shows he's been doing, and this whole like he literally has a show. I love his kind of brazen approach to life. Like he'll either be doing this show where he's essentially doing like a podcast with a bunch of his friends, and they all get high and just shoot the shit, or sometimes he just live streams games and just gets high and just does that. And like one time I think he like forgot that he was live streaming and just left it for like 24 hours. And then he came back and he was just like, oh shit, okay. He's just a normal guy. He's just a normal guy. I love it.
And then he came out with, you know, one of the best albums ever. So, I mean, that's actually, to me, within itself is crazy. Like, because he came out with Doggy Style, which is probably one, you know, it's a top, however you want to rank it, it's a top whatever. You know, and he still, you know, continued and wasn't like haunted by that. Where if you look at someone like Nas, I think he's still haunted by Illmatic to this day, I feel like.
Early Nas, man, I love all of his early stuff. Like, I'm personally just, when it comes to rap and hip hop, I'm stuck in the 90s/2000s. For me, that's like the best stuff. And like, that'll be like what's on my gym playlist, for example. But when it comes to new stuff, like, I don't know, I try to get into it, but I just, it doesn't have the same vibe, the same feel.
I mean, who do you like listen to that's like newer, like I would say like someone that came out or didn't get, I would say, popping until like 2015 and down. So like,
oh jeez, then I guess no one. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you listen to Freddie Gibbs?
No, I don't. I wouldn't know.
Nah. You like Tyler Creator?
Don't know.
Like,
like, you know what I mean? Bad. Like, yeah, I'm sure there are good artists out there.
It's just different now. Back then, it was like you said, 90s and 2000s. It was like you had to be different. Like you can name 10 random hip hop artists from the 90s and 10 from the 2000s, and more than likely, none of them sound the same or have similar styles. Even like in New York, like you had Prodigy, right? You had Nas, and let's say, I don't know, let me throw one out. LL Cool J. That's 3 different artists from the same area. And you know what I'm saying? Very close, but they're not, you know what I'm saying? Like the slang might be kind of closer, but the artists, like they're not, you know what I'm saying? And that's within the same region. Even down south at that time. Anyone, you know, like Outkast, Nia Scarface. They both Southern rappers, both Southern, you know, Southern acts, but they're not, you know.
I get you. I think it's just like I'm very picky when it comes to rap and hip hop. I think that's more of the issue.
No, I mean,
not to say there isn't
that makes you have good taste.
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I'm just not into what the majority of people were into, and maybe I think that might just be an age thing, to be honest with you, more than anything else. Because I mean, I'm getting to the age now where there's stuff that I grew up with that people don't know. And I'm just like, how can you not know this? But then, of course, they didn't grow up with it. They don't know about it. And that's just aging. That's just what happens.
Yeah. I mean, but I think it's eras, too. Because even like when we were younger, right? You had, like, even if you didn't, like, listen to other genres, you would know other artists, but they'd be still, like, respected in their own, like, if you didn't, like, really listen to, like, Blink-182, but you know Blink-182. And it's like they're still respected within their genre, you know what I'm saying? Or like Good Charlotte when they first came out, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like they were popping, you know what I'm saying? They were popping, but they were still respected. Like even if someone didn't listen to rap, they'd be like, "Well, at least I know 50." But he's still, you know what I'm saying? Like even like what they would push back then in all genres encompassed. Because even now it's like even pop, like you know Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, etc., etc. Now it's like. It's hard, even across genres, you know?
I saw something recently which I think sums this up very well. It was like a TikTok about how hard 50 Cent went back in the day, like back in the early 2000s, right? And it was kind of one of those like, oh, you just had to be there kind of things. And I think it's like that's kind of the key. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't get me wrong, you can appreciate music before your time in a like for instance, I love the Smiths. I adore the Smiths, and I was not born in the 80s. I have no way of appreciating what that must have been like to grow up with that. But I love it. I still think it's iconic even to this day. But like, it's the same with 50 Cent. Like, people don't know how huge it was when he came on the scene and he dropped those albums. Like, you can go back and listen to it, and it still slams. But it's just.
He wasn't there when it was going down.
Yeah, like I look back now in the 2000s, and do you know what? It probably is rose-tinted glasses, but like I do feel like there was a lot of exciting, progressive music at that time.
Right. Across the board.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like there just isn't that anymore. Sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes something will come and it will blow you away, and it'll be like, ooh. But I feel like a lot of the stuff that's interesting and out there, as I said earlier, like it's stuff that you've maybe not so aware of or not so well known.
Yeah, look, it's not pushed.
Yeah,
and you know what? It's the algorithm game now. Everything's an algorithm. That's a big problem. Everything is an algorithm.
Do you think
it's numbers?
Because I've heard some people say like album is dead, like albums. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I believe that really. I still think there's a market for it, but like I'm seeing like more and more artists now are just releasing singles, and sometimes that's all they'll do. They'll just keep releasing singles. Do you think like that's where we're headed? Is just endless singles, or do you think projects can still kind of exist as they did?
I think it depends on the artist, because that is also something personally. I've been working on like tying into this. I recorded a lot of tracks, and the way I wanted to release it was, you know, some songs like I would just release the EP, and then songs like every couple of weeks, but make a big project at the end and put it together. But I think it depends on momentum of the artist, because like if you're a big, I don't even want to keep talking like mainstream, but if you have a super big following, and you can get that off, you can. But one thing I think people, you can do a little bit of both. My last project, 16 Tracks for That Ass, I dropped a single, another single. We dropped the 16 songs, and then we picked singles off the album. But I think it's starting to create like two different lanes for artists to go into. Either you're going, I feel like, if that's what you, and I feel like there's no wrong way about it. If you it just depends on like how you gear your game plan towards it, you know? If you want to do the every couple whatever's to drop singles, you can. However, at the same time, the disadvantages I think are if you're going single continuously, you're either going to push something one way or another, and it's like, let's say you make one song, it's like a party song, and another song, it's a party song, and you're getting a lot of good, momentum going that way. But then the next song, you want to talk about something different, like a breakup or something. That might disadvantage you because people are used to bang, bang, not something different. Whereas if you release a project, you can hit somebody with it. So I think the best method is probably a little bit of both moving forward. But more artists are doing the singles, but that can create a lot of flame out and expectations of a certain way, you know?
I feel like the streaming game has slowly but surely begun to kind of kill album as we know it. And not completely, but I think that as we move forward, we're starting to realize, what's this? You can't hear me. Ah, and he's back.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
He's back.
I'm back. Yeah, I'm sorry.
As we move forward, we're beginning to sort of see that artists aren't really making as much money as they should be from streaming.
Correct.
And some people do, like they're very, very upper top echelon, or obviously like where they get like hundreds of millions of streams, they're probably earning a little bit from it. But the consensus seems to be that people are earning from like gigs and merchandise and then anything else. And for big artists, maybe they're not going to feel that impact. But for up-and-coming artists, I mean, I feel like the numbers, they don't do much for them as far as money is concerned, but they do as far as like showing like, okay, this is the potential of this artist. Look at how much reach they have, kind of thing. Right. But yeah, my point, just connecting it to what we were talking about before, is that like, if you're an artist up and coming now, is there really much point for you to release an album given the context of that? You know, maybe it is worth kind of continually releasing singles to a time when it becomes, I don't know, somewhat profitable, or it seems like it's the time to release a record, maybe?
Yeah, it's the time. I personally wouldn't, if you're like just starting out within a year or two, I'll probably say no, because you want to build up that quick catalog. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to music and everything, it's all about catalog. You know?
Do you think?
At the end of the day, it's all about catalog. And because you can have one hot song, if no one, has nothing else to go back to, they're going to forget about you. Either way, like, we all come across like, yo, this song is crazy. Then you hear an artist and be like, oh, they don't got nothing.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, there has been artists where I've had that. Or what's worse is that they got one good track, but the rest of the tracks are trash. And you're like, oh well.
Yeah.
You just move on.
It's tough. You just got to chalk it up, man. I think starting out, that's probably the best thing. But at the end of the day, it always comes back to catalog, whether it's how much you have to offer. Because even though we're in the quick consumer market, it's still a consumer market. And
I've lost him. He's gone. He's gone again. Oh no. And now I've got to fill up this space right now with the silence. And it's really odd because I'm not used to this level of silence. All I hear is blackness and darkness. Nothing. And he's back.
Okay. And I'm back.
See, the only reason I wanted to keep that going is so that I don't have to edit.
Okay. But no, that's all great. But yeah, like, you gotta have content at the end of the day, And it's like, on a personal level as an artist, like, I'm like, I got a lot of songs.
How many songs you got?
Like, in total that are released, 140.
140? Since when? Since what year?
2010. Since 2010 or 11, I would say.
10 tracks a month or something? Crikey.
Uh,
Damn.
Something like that. If you broke it down like that, yeah. But I got like 8 projects. I got 9 projects now. So.
What would you say are your sort of biggest successes so far? Either numbers, performances, merchandise. What would you say? Or people you work with, maybe?
No reverse order. People I've worked with. I've worked with Mickey Fax.
Okay.
He's a rapper. He was on a Double XL back with like, I think was it 2008 or 9. He's in underground. He's very prominent. Working with obviously my best friend Mark Thomas on the sax. He's on the sax a lot of the songs that I've done. Mike Burrell on the keys and on the hooks. As I said before, producer wise, go to my one friend Rizzy Grams from Jersey. But shows, there's a lot. The pandemic kind of messed that all up a little bit, but I'm more interested in doing like live shows on YouTube and stuff. I think that's a good avenue in the alley to get into.
How so? Like, what are you looking to do? Like live streams?
Like live streams, live performances streamed, because you can do a lot at one time by utilizing the internet. I think that opened up.
And we've lost him. We've lost him again. That's a hat trick now. We call that a hat trick in the UK. We're having all sorts of technical difficulties today, but it is a pleasure to have Darryl on the show. I hope he does return to us. If he doesn't, I guess he's back, and we missed all of that. What were you saying?
Okay, I was saying as far as like going to live, like doing live shows and live streaming and whatnot. I think because of the pandemic, that opened up a lot of avenues for efficiency. That was there, but hasn't been tapped into. And I think with going back to what we were saying with streaming, streaming has been a factor, and it's been a factor for a while. But now it's even more of a factor because, we got the numbers have gone up due to, people staying at home and whatnot. So doing things such as that online is a big avenue. And on top of that, it's still important, to be in the physical, which has driven the demand up.
What are you looking to achieve in your music career moving forward?
Moving forward in the immediate, we just going to keep ramping it up. I got the Cool Out Vibe EP, everything available on my YouTube, all the songs I've been talking about, all the videos and whatnot. I got another EP coming out next month, and we're going to keep hitting you guys with some singles before I drop something real big in Q1 next year, and just continue to network and, work with, great artists. Keep making the music, cool. Keep improving, keep raising the bar.
And what would you say are the biggest lessons? Is that a child? You got a kid there?
Yeah, my little boy, he over there eating.
Your son? How old's your son?
Yeah, 8 months.
8 months old. Wow.
Yeah, my little boy Dale. You can catch him on the gram. We be hanging out.
Congratulations.
Thanks, though. I appreciate it. Thank you. And then, also, daddy time, but just living off the experiences and turning up.
How is being a father changing you?
It gives you a lot more insight. Do you have any kids?
No, not yet.
Nah. Okay, no doubt. Okay, yeah, for sure. Well, just since it's so fresh, I can give you an easier example. You know what I'm saying? I think it just gives more perspective on life. Like, I know that sounds mad cliche, but it almost gives you a whole different point of view of life. And
would you say the whole expression, you don't know love until you see your child, is true?
Yes. Yeah, I could say so. The funniest thing is when my son was born, they showed him to us. And, my girlfriend, she's a mother, she's crying, she's on my baby. And I looked at him, I was like, yep, that's me. Word on everything, bro. I was like, yeah, that's the little guy.
What?
Yeah, he over there eating, but yeah, it's the little guy right. Oh, well, camera's over here. It's the little guy right
bless
there.
him. Very cute.
Yeah, little Deo, look just like me. But
okay, out of your career with regards to music and producing and everything in between, what would you say are the biggest lessons that music has taught you?
I think the biggest lesson that music has taught me is that you can never not find new ways to get your point across. You know, I think when I first started, I was 17, and right out the gate, this is back then, going back to what we were saying earlier, like we came out with a whole album off the rip. And from the gate, I always was in a more like, I want to be independent before anything, because at the end of the day, like, I really enjoy what I do. It's not really about, I mean, obviously we want to have bread, but you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like, this is something that I enjoy. Like, this is a part of me, an extension of me. So one thing I was really worried about when I was younger, I was like, as things is moving along, we were on like our third project, and I'm like 21. So I'm still like mad young. But even like as an artist, I'm like, damn, bro, what if I like run out of stuff to come up with? What if I run out of material? Like this is something, even, then I saw myself continuously doing consistently. Like, this is like, I enjoy this. And like, I don't like, maybe some people don't think that, but like, damn, what if I run out of ideas? Like, that's crazy. And I'm still here, and I ain't never run out of an idea. I ain't never said a bar twice, and no songs sound the same. But I think the biggest lesson is being like, just going with your gut. Whatever decision, whatever the case is, you gotta go with your gut. And I feel like that translates into real life. Like, vibes don't lie, feelings don't lie, and staying true to yourself. Like, if you always really like true to yourself, like, you're gonna be all right. Like,
we just lost sound, but I totally agree with what Darryl's saying here. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll continue on that point. There is a lot to be said for relying on your gut feeling and your instincts. And I think for me, possibly 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even sooner than that, a couple of years back, I started doing that. And it's true. It never does you wrong. It really doesn't. It's like, I often like to refer to it as like a cheat code. It's like you're getting the answers. All you have to do is just listen. Interesting.
Nah, you're right. And then just being resourceful.
Sure. Yeah. Make the most of what's around you. I will say this, like, you have to kind of like put yourself in the right headspace in order to receive opportunities. Like, you got to have the right attitude, I think. Because if you don't, that's when you miss opportunities. And obviously when opportunities come, you've got to make the most of them. Like, really try and do your best to make it, like, for instance, like this show. Every time I have someone on the show, I try to get a good conversation out of them. I try to kind of get something that people can take away from it and go, okay, this is what I took away from this episode. This is what I learned from this episode. Or, and it could be anything. It doesn't have to always be inspiring. It could be like poignant. It could be funny. It could be whatever. But you take something from it. And I pride myself on the show always being different. Every episode, no two episodes are ever the same. And part of that comes to adapting around my guests somewhat. And trying to shift myself around. And it's not easy. It's really not easy, especially when it's like the first time meeting someone as well, because you don't always know if you're going to click with someone, and you got to kind of try and maneuver that. And I don't know, in my life right now, like I've just recently started bartending again. I haven't been in customer services for like a while, but I came back to it because it works right now. And the thing that I'm realizing that's really useful that I'm using back in podcasting is just communicating, just having the confidence. Because obviously when you're a bartender, you know, you have a big queue, you got to kind of announce yourself. They're like, hey, I'm available. Come here.
I'm the man. Holla at me.
Yeah.
I'm a part-time therapist.
Sometimes, yeah. But you know, the awkward thing with that is that, like, sometimes I really actually need to do work and someone's trying to confide in me and I'm like, yeah, yeah. And I'm doing like 15 different drinks at once and I'm like, great, yeah. Hope that works out. Yeah.
What's your go? Wait, what's the best drink you make? Real quick.
Oh,
like what's like that thing where it's like yo, this is the Mitch right here. I got you. Someone say, you know, like what's your?
I think I make a good espresso martini. I've always been pretty good at that. I love making cocktails. To me, whenever you make cocktails, it's like that's like ultimate bartending 101 right there. You really feel like, yeah, man, I'm the man. This is like, and to be honest, making cocktails is really easy. It really is. Much easier than lighting a cigarette.
Man, this hilarious. Dude. I got this joint for like 50 cents at the store. I was like, you get what you pay for. But how's it been like networking though, like as a bartender?
Yeah, that's an area that I'm slowly getting into because I've always felt uncomfortable with advertising myself in real life.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to be like, oh, hey, yeah, great. So here's my life story. Here's everything I'm trying to do. Please care. Because most people don't care. But I'm slowly, like, I kind of try to get to know someone first or see if in someone like, would they be interested in this? And if it seems like they might be, sometimes I'll float the idea and be like, hey, if you're interested, I do this, by the way. Or, you know, but normally I wait for when people ask me or it comes up in conversation and then talk about it. But yeah, I'm getting better at it. I'm trying to advertise more because that's how you get heard. That's how you get seen. And you never know who you're talking to and where that conversation could go and what it could lead to. So, yeah. There it is.
Day by day, man.
A couple of final questions for you. What's the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I ever received. I think the best advice I ever got probably have to be something from my dad. Definitely had to be something from my dad. So many lessons. I think one of the best things I learned about him was just be, what's that word? I'm high as hell. Conviction. There you go. Like, you know, just like be purposeful with your intent. Whatever it is, like, you know, just be purposeful with your intent. And that kind of like, but it helps out with a lot of shit. Like if you're a friend of somebody, you're supposed to be through thick and thin. But if I'm not really going to try to be there for somebody through thick and thin, I'm not going to be fake, but, you know, it sets boundaries. It helps set boundaries, setting boundaries in life. You know, especially as an artist, as a creative, you got to set boundaries because, you know, sometimes you know how it is. The people that are closest to you don't always, you know, see the vision the way you see the vision. So you have to, like, when you get into your creative space, you got to, you know, set your boundaries, whatever the case is or whatever it may be, and personal and whatever it is. So just being very purposeful with your intent, you know, just being very about what you about and keeping the main thing.
Great stuff. What's the biggest life lesson you've learned so far?
That everything is always made up of little things add up, like the compound effect. You feel me? Okay. Oh no, I think I lost him. Like the compound effect, like the penny doubling or whatever the case may be. Like everything's always working in one way or another. So it's like, even if it's something that has like someone has to go like, oh, I want to lose weight. It's like, that's cool and all, but it's like, you gotta like little step that shit. You feel me?
It's funny you mentioned that. Today, I posted a bunch of pictures online of my progress over the last 5 months training in the gym.
He was in the gym.
I was working hard, yeah. And exactly what you said. The first month, didn't make any progress. 2 months, very little progress. 3 months, starting to see stuff. 4 months, really starting to make progress. 5 months, finally starting to be happy with how I feel about how I look. And it all starts in the little things. You're right. It all comes together, and you just have to keep working at it and working at it and working at it, and eventually you get there.
How many days a week you go?
It varies. Before I started this bartending stuff, I was doing like every other day. So it'd be like 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off. Right now, because I'm working like 50 hours a week or whatever, I'm sort of going on my off days.
Right.
This week, for instance, today, tomorrow, and then Saturday.
True. But I mean, at the same time, you over time, because of it, little bit by little bit, you can go, you know, at the very minimum 3 times a week, and you're good because you ramped it up.
It also helps with bartending because you're always moving around, so you do less cardio in the gym, and then also lifting barrels in the cellar.
Oh,
that shit's heavy. It's basically like lifting like 40 kg or whatever, like when it's full.
Like you don't even need, like, you good. You good. Just a little sprinkle in here and there for real.
It's true. It's interesting as well with the gym. Do you go to the gym as well? Yeah.
Yeah, I do go. Right now, the one that I go to, the court's messed up, so I go in there and just hoop. I'll be hooping.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. So it's. Do you know what I think personally I prefer playing sports to gymming because I love gym. Right. Don't get me wrong. It's a lifestyle, but I feel like when you're playing sports, you don't notice like you're pushing yourself harder. Like I'm really competitive, right? So I love playing football, basketball, whatever. Like I love that.
Right.
And yeah, you push yourself harder. You're sweating like crazy, and you don't notice the effect until afterwards. Yeah,
like you could play like 3 or 4 pickup games, and they'd be like, "Shit, that was an hour and 45 minutes." But it's like, yo, you just played. Like,
not this summer, but the last summer, I was legit going to the basketball court like 4 or 5 times a week and playing like 5 hours straight basketball. It was insane.
Like, and you was in shape.
No, but I discovered I still had stamina. Let's put it that way.
But over time though.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing it made me realize, one thing it taught me, which I already knew, but it was good to be reminded of, was that like the way to get better in life is to always be around people better than you. That's how you learn.
True.
Because I mean, I was playing with people that were like in playing in teams, miles better than me, been playing all their life. I'd only been playing like 6 months, but I got better because of being around them, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, just want to bring this to a close and say a massive thank you for being on the show. As a final question, do you have any upcoming projects or final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, thank you for having me here. But yeah, right now, Cool Out Vibe EP, Darryl Watson, is already out right now in the video. Already on the youtube.com/Darryl Watson NJ. Instagram, same thing, just like that right there. I ain't trying to rhyme, but but also I got another EP coming out in October, so keep your eyes peeled. You know,
busy. Fantastic. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and massive thank you, man. Wishing you all the best.
Definitely appreciate it, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Brilliant. And to all the listeners of the Christian Reeve Podcast, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always, be safe, be well, and I'll see you in the next one.